For more on the excitement, construction, and challenges ahead of next year's Olympics, I'm joined here in the studio by Paulo Sotero. He's director of the Brazil Institute at the Woodrow Wilson International Center. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
We saw a lot of concerns, some of the same concerns last year with the World Cup. The World Cup went on, everything was great, but this is different. Will Rio be ready for the Olympics? We're looking at one city, not the entire country now.
And I believe Rio will be ready. Actually, some of the works are surprisingly ahead of schedule. There are some challenges. There are some challenges concern water quality in some of the aquatic events. There is a general concern about a few things that have not been decided, but I think the city is coming together. What has changed since the time when Rio got the right to organize the Olympics is the economic situation, the political situation, much tougher now. There is a debate in Brazil, should we have done this? But I think the general idea here is that yes, that the city will be ready, that Brazil will again put up a very good show and welcome millions of tourists and visitors.
I want to ask you about several of the things you just mentioned. I was in Rio last year. You go there quite often. The situation with water was a problem even back then. There's this proposal to build 8 water treatment plants to address some of the water concerns. Realistically, can it all be cleaned up by next year?
I think it can be cleaned up to the standard that required by the Olympic Committee. There is a recent story by the Associated Press, I believe, that suggests that it's impossible, but they did not use the criteria, which is the measure of bacteria in the water. They used the measure of viruses in the water. So by the Olympic Committee standard, I think the authorities are committed to do what's necessary to ensure the water quality for athletes. Just this past Sunday, there was a triathlon at Copacabana Beach, and there were thousands of swimmers there, and they are all happy and enjoying Rio there after swimming in those waters. But I think the pressure has to be kept on. I believe Mayor Eduardo Paes is determined to ensure, and the authorities, state authorities, the federal authorities, despite all the crisis and all the hardship, to ensure that Rio put up a very good Olympics.
You also mentioned the political situation at the moment, corruption allegations within the government. How much, or maybe not at all, does that play a role in getting these games off on time and in a good way? Will that have any effect on what's happening?
It may have some impacts because of budget situations. The government is cutting back, but I think most of the money assigned for the Olympic Games is protected. The Brazilian authorities, the Rio authorities know what kind of responsibility they assumed when they started this. So I think there is a general support in Brazil that we will offer a good Olympics, that this will be an important moment for Brazil. Will probably not be the moment that we dreamed about when in 2009, but Brazil is facing this crisis, I would tell you, Elaine, with courage. We are fighting corruption in the country. We are cleaning up the country. I think Brazil will come out of this crisis much better than we are now. But it's important that we do what we are doing. I think the Olympics next year will probably give us some reason to celebrate that, that we can do things right. And on the political side, I think we are doing things right by persecuting corruption. And on the economy, it will be a longer haul, but I believe the country will also find the path back to stable growth.
All right, you heard it here. Paulo Sotero, as always, we appreciate your insight and your perspective. Thank you for joining us.